So Manchester City have just beaten Villarreal 2-0 in the Champions League this evening. And look, is that going to be the most incredible game of football you've ever watched in your life? Absolutely not. However, 3 points on the board for Manchester City is the most important thing. 11 consecutive games scored for Erling Haaland, and now 9 consecutive games for Manchester City without a defeat in all competitions. It has been a really good period for Manchester City. And tonight, one thing I will say is, despite obviously it being a relatively flat performance overall in the second half, I do think that there was an element of control that we had over the game, which was a bit refreshing. We haven't seen this in a while, where we just had complete dominance pretty much over the opposition team. Villarreal, to be fair to them, in the second half did have about a 10-minute spell where they were, creating a couple of chances, were asking a couple of questions, but overall, I thought we dealt with them really well. I thought it was a really convincing performance from Manchester City tonight. And look, there's a few things I do want to talk about as well on top of it. I think that the starting lineup was a little bit... I wasn't a big fan of the starting lineup, if I was being completely honest. And I saw the reasons why I wasn't exactly the biggest fan of the lineup when I was watching the game. Doku and Savinho as a partnership, both off the wings. I'm not a big fan of it, if I'm being completely honest. I do think that we need to have a Marmoush, a Shirky, a Foden in the front line, because I don't know about you, but I felt like in that game there was a lack of a clinical edge in the final third, or a proper killer mentality that Marmoush, Shirky have, that I just feel like, or even Foden, that they add to that front line to pair with Haaland. And yeah, I mean, for me personally, I'm not the biggest fan of the Doku-Savinho partnership, but Savinho, to be fair to him, had a really good game today. He got the assist. It was a great little ball into the box for Bernardo Silva, completely loses his man, ghosts into the box, and gets an absolutely fantastic header into the back of the net. And also as well, Savinho was really key for the first goal in the game as well. He was the one that found the ball for Rico Lewis, who made a smart little run into the box and then played it back across for Erling Haaland. And those were the 2 goals for Manchester City tonight. And I do think that we could have done more. I do think that we could have really stepped it up in the second half at some point. It did feel like we were kind of just playing within ourselves in that second half. We kind of knew that we had the job done. It felt like we had another gear to go into if we really needed to, which is a little bit frustrating at times. I would have liked to see us maybe go get 3, 4, 5 and really just show that we are serious and get a bunch of goals on the board. But at the end of the day, look, can I complain? No, I can't complain whatsoever. It's a big 3 points for Manchester City in the Champions League. That's now 7 points on the board for us. And ultimately, you look at the games coming up. We've got teams like Borussia Dortmund, Real Madrid. We've got tough games coming up. So to have those points already on the board is really good, because it means that we've got that little buffer coming into these really important games in the Champions League as well. So look, there can be no complaints whatsoever, and I'm not trying to make this a complaint whatsoever. I just think that the performance was a little bit flat, specifically in that second half. But I thought there were some good performances out there. I really do. I thought Mateus Nunes had a really good performance today. I've been impressed with him in the last couple of games, showing a lot more maturity in that right back role. There was a couple of moments where defensively as well, he was showing a really good amount of defensive awareness, just to shield players off, or, just things that you would see from a usual right back. And I think he's starting to learn that position really well. So to be fair, he had an absolutely outstanding performance today. I thought he was really strong in the back line. For overall, the back line was really strong as well. Stones, Diaz, they had a good performance today. Donnarumma made a couple of good smart saves when he needed to. And Vardiol overall had a good game, despite giving a couple of sloppy balls away needlessly in the first half. But other than that, I thought he was strong. In the midfield, Nico Gonzalez, another good performance from him. The worry, though, with Nico Gonzalez is he's gone down injured in the game, and that will be a worry, because obviously Nico Gonzalez is very important without Rodri in the team. And Rodri's not fit at the moment to come back into the City team. We got Villa on the weekend, and Nico Gonzalez went off. So there's a big question on whether Nico Gonzalez will be fit enough to be able to play that game against Villa. I'm hoping he can be back, because without Nico and without Rodri, I do question whether we do have enough defensive acumen in that position, in that role against Aston Villa, who will test us. They are in decent form at the moment. So that's a little bit of a concern coming into the next game. But I thought Bernardo Silva had a good game as well today. I like him in the central midfield. I've said this a few times. I'm not a big fan of him anymore off the right-hand side. I think he maybe slows down the attacks. I don't think he's the best in that position. But centrally, I still think he's got a lot to offer this Manchester City team. He's got a lot of leadership, a lot of legs still in terms of getting around in the midfield, midfield. I think out the right, it's a little bit different. But in the central midfield, I think he's really good. The tight control, the awareness. I think he's such a good footballer. And I thought he had a really good performance as well on top of the goal today. Rico Lewis, I thought, also had a good performance. He's not been in the team that much as of recent, but he came in. I thought he played well today. I think he suits these type of games where Manchester City have a lot of the ball. We dominate the ball and there's not as much end-to-end action, which Villarreal aren't really that type of team, so I think that's why Pep Guardiola went with him today. But I thought he had a good game. Got the assist, obviously, for the first Erling Haaland goal. As I said, Savinho, I thought he had a good game today, creating those chances, and he was probably the most creative player in the side today. Doku, I thought he struggled, if I'm being completely honest, up against his fullback in the first half. Wasn't really able to beat him that successfully. And to be fair, Doku is usually, even if he's not that, clinical in the final third, or if he's not finding the right passes in the final third, usually what he can always do is beat his man. He didn't really do that today, so I thought Doku was a bit disappointing, if I'm being completely honest, which I'm hoping is not him dipping out of that bit of form that he had. I was hoping that he could continue that on, but obviously that will be remain to be seen. But the Everton and the Villarreal performance tonight, not the greatest signs, but it's only 2 games, so I'm not going to get too carried away. Then, of course, Erling Haaland, I mean, just an absolute freak, isn't he? I mean, just a ridiculous goal scorer. He could have had another one tonight as well. I mean, he's just ridiculous. I mean, there's not really much left to say about him. He gets his chance, he tucks it away, constantly a threat, always making the right runs. Sometimes we just need players on the pitch to be able to make those balls in behind for Erling Haaland to latch onto, i.e., Shirky. I would have loved to see Shirky play tonight. He came on in the last few minutes, saw a couple of glimpses of him, but overall, obviously, nowhere near enough. I need to see more Shirky ball in my life. This guy is an absolute baller. We saw it in the last 13 minutes against Everton on the weekend. He's just so good. He's going to create chances. He just looks lively whenever he comes on. And I do want to see him more in a Manchester City shirt. So hopefully we can see more of him going forward. Marmoush did come on also as well today, which is really positive. Kovacic came on and got a few minutes in the side as well. So that'll be really important for him coming back from injury as well. So yeah, overall really positive stuff. 3 points in the bag. Some injured players getting some minutes tonight. And overall a successful performance. I mean, you can't really complain too much. I just think that maybe we could have had a little bit more of a killer instinct in that final third. But overall, really, really good stuff. On to Aston Villa at the weekend. Am I a little bit nervous about Nico Gonzalez in the midfield? I absolutely will be. Hopefully he can be back fit for the game. We'll obviously see what the injury updates are on him from Pep Guardiola, either after the game or in the coming days. But yeah, let me know what you guys think of the performance in the comments below. A really, really convincing win for Manchester City. And at the end of the day, 3 points is 3 points, and I'll absolutely take it in the Champions League. On to Villa on the weekend. As I said, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. But we're in incredible form right now, and you really just can't complain.